everybody, welcome back to Superhuman Customs. I'm Stephen Human, and today we got something pretty cool. So I found a bunch of figures at Ross for deep discounts, like $5.99, $4.99. And when I found these guys, I was like, okay, well, what are we gonna do with them? Well, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna take the Static Shock, the head from this Godspeed, and the legs from this, I don't even know who this guy is, and we're gonna make the Question. This is gonna be really cool. Question has no face, he's got the trench coat. Really excited to see how this guy turns out. And then we're gonna do a couple different things with these two guys later. Not sure about this guy, I am sure about this guy, but we'll get to that. Right now, let's jump into the Question. Now, I'm gonna do something a little bit different on this Question figure. Now, a lot of you guys have talked about how my voice can be relaxing sometimes, and I enjoy watching relaxing videos on YouTube. So what I'm gonna do on this one that's gonna be a little bit different is that I'm not gonna have any music throughout the entire thing. So if you guys like this, then just let me know in the comments. If you want me to go back to where it was with the music, then that's fine. This is just an experiment. So let me know if you like it or not. And if you do, then maybe I'll continue with more like this with no music. So other than this first part where I have the music, there won't be any more throughout the rest of this video. These guys have been enjoying their hot tub soak for a little bit. So let's just start taking them apart. I need the legs off this guy. Ooh, sometimes these are harder than they look to get off. If they don't pop off, sometimes you need to get in with a screwdriver and pop these parts off, which is not something I like. Normally they just kind of come off, but not these ones. All right, we'll soak him a little bit longer. This guy's head should come right off. It does, yay. And this guy's head, yay, right off. You sit in there still. And we'll see if his legs come off. Yep, see, right off. That's what we want. Bada bing. It took a little bit of elbow grease, but we got the legs on and his head. So this is the beginning of the Question. Now these all together, we need to peel off these things on his head. They come right off. And then we're going to start filling this in with Milliput. So we need to get so that it looks like he's got no eyes or anything. And Milliput is the way to go. So what I'm going to do with the rest of this Milliput is I'm going to make a hat out of it. I'm just going to roll it up. You can see his face is looking pretty good. And you can't have Question without his hat. So I'm just going to try and press it and see if we can make it work. All right, you can see using this tool, this isn't working out half bad. It's flattening it out pretty good, and it's starting to take a good shape on his head. And so I'm just going to continue. It's going to take a little bit of time to get it right. And then obviously it's going to need to dry overnight, but I think this is going to work. I'm starting to realize I could have used almost any head since I had to use so much Milliput on his face. It didn't have to be this guy, but I still think he's the best for what it is that I'm doing. The shape of the hat's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going through and I'm adding I don't even know what this thing's called, but it's like there's cloth around the base of the hat. I'm just going to put the marks in here because his fedora has that. So this will allow me to paint it different shades once we're into that spot. Last thing with the Milliput is I'm going to add his tie. I've got some glue here. I'm just going to lay it down first and then cut out what I want. But this will allow you to, get it all in place, know that it's going to stay, and then here at the end, if you want, have it kind of go off in a different angle, which is what I'm going to try and do. I want it to have a little bit more of a dynamic sort of play to it, have it kind of come off. So we'll see how that looks. Once you've got it where you want, just go through with your razor blade and trim it. So I've primed him. What I'm going to do now, a little trick, is I'm going to make this shirt look a little bit more shirty. So I'm just going to add a few lines of a fabric paint just to make it look like it's got some lines. And you can do this and just kind of play around with it, but it will give it more of a texture, and that's what we're after. We primed this guy, and now the first easiest thing we're just going to go over with white on his shirt. because I put some fabric paint to just give it some more of a shirt texture. And this will allow us to cover all that up, make it all look uniform. And then we'll start in on the jacket. Now I'm going to use very light blue. I'm going to use his powder blue. Most of the time when you see the question, he's got a blue suit generally. And sometimes it's a lighter blue and sometimes it's a darker blue. I'm going to go with the lighter simply because it's different. A lot of the pictures I've seen, he has this really light blue, and I think it will stand out on the shelf if he's blue, like this powder blue. So that's what I'm going to go with. It's nothing more complicated than that. Is that I looked at all the pictures and I always knew that he had a lighter blue suit in a lot of times, and that's what I prefer, so that's what we're going with. I really enjoy this part because you're just able to really lay the color on, and it makes a huge difference in the figure. It just kind of, I don't know. You know, when you are adding paint like this and it's a big part of the figure, the change happens really fast. And I like that. I like when you get to that point. Because sometimes you're doing a lot of work and it takes a long time for there to really look like there's any change, any difference. And with this, the difference happens nice and quick. He's actually standing pretty good right now. Most of the time I don't stand them up while I paint, but he's doing a pretty good job. So I'm going through with a smaller brush now. And I'll have to go and touch up some of the white in here because I've gotten a little bit, but this will be how we'll get the hat too, with a smaller brush. That big one just, you know, it's good for the coverage, but it's not going to do the detail work that we want. And so we need a smaller brush for that. Hope you guys are enjoying this with no music. Again, let me know if you liked it or if you didn't like it. Because, you know, I like, you know, when I watch videos that are a little bit more quiet and relaxing, and other times I don't want to. So, yeah, just let me know how you liked this one. A little bit different, but, you know, if it's something you guys enjoy, just let me know. Some people have asked me why I don't use an airbrush. And it's something I've thought about. But in truth, I really enjoy the hand painting. And you guys know me at this point. I'm not interested in perfection. There's no such thing. And so for me, it's about the experience and the ease of the experience. And for me, this is an easy experience. The hand painting is fun, and sometimes it can be relaxing. And I like it. And so I don't think I'm going to move to an airbrush just for that reason, because I like doing it this way. And, you know, if I like it, then why stop? You know, why do it in a different way? And if I did it with an airbrush, then yeah, I could get things more perfect. But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in just the experience and the artistry of it. And so that's why I do it in the way that I do it. I'm going to use a slightly darker blue for the pants because a lot of the versions of the question have a different blue. I could have done the same blue, but I think it'll look cooler this way, just with a darker blue here. And then we'll go black with the tie and the band on his hat. So I think this is going to look really nice this way. Just going with coverage first, and then I'll go through with a smaller paintbrush and get the details around the belt and stuff. So just when you're making this guy, go through and cover him up. And you see it's going to look nice with this darker blue versus the lighter blue of the jacket. Now all of you know that I tend to move pretty fast through things. And sometimes that pays off and sometimes it doesn't. But when it comes to like in here with these little details on the belt, just take a little bit of time. Don't rush it. You'll want to. I know I want to a lot of the times because, you know, I don't have a lot of time to spend on these. I want them to get them done, which is why I tend to move pretty fast. But, you know, with these things, you want them to look right. And it's the little details that are the most important thing. You get those little details right, and your entire figure is gonna pop, even if you have a few other flaws in some places. Getting them right in here will draw the eye, and that's what people will remember. They'll be like, oh, look at the little belt details and stuff. And that's why when, like, there have been Superman figures in the past where they haven't painted these things on his belt, and it drives us all nuts, right? It's a small little detail, but for us, it's like, well, why didn't you do that? So just try and get those as right as you possibly can. Now with some black, we're just going to hit these details here on the hat and the tie. Originally, I was going to make the tie kind of color with some red on it. That's why I put some of the lines in the Milliput. But none of the versions I saw online have the question with any kind of color on his tie. So we're just going to go with black. And then while we're here, we're also going to do the hands because most of the versions have either dark gray or black gloves. So I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to move through and get this done. And yeah, it's going to move along pretty well. It's really interesting to me how adding this color just really makes just massive change. It makes it look like a toy as opposed to just some funky thing you put together. I always think about when I'm doing this, especially working with the Milliput, and when it doesn't have any of its color, it's always like, you know, what is this? How's it going to look? And then when I put the color on, it starts to really take shape. And it's like, man, that looks awesome. So I'm really, really happy. Let's go ahead and gold up his belt buckle here, add a little bit of color to him. And then we'll move on to his face. Remember with metallics, you always want to move in the same direction so that you can have kind of that metal grain. Last but not least, flesh tone on this guy. Just using a standard craft flesh tone that I've got here that I've used on other stuff. I don't use it very often because I don't like doing flesh tone because it's hard to get right. Now with this guy, here's the question. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to match everywhere that there's flesh because this is a mask. So this flesh tone will work just fine. I'm going to put it on nice and light to begin. And then if it needs a second coat, we'll put one on, but I don't know if we will. I prefer to go on nice and light on this because it's going to look better in the long run. There we are, the question. Now this was fun. This was a lot of different techniques, getting rid of the face, putting a hat on him, you know, molding the tie. And things aren't quite as smooth because I originally thought that I was going to add some texture to the tie, and once the Milliput was dry, I couldn't do much about that. The more that I sanded it down, the weaker the tie got, and it actually broke at one point and I had to glue it. So, you know, this is experimentation, all of it. And, you know, I wanted to have kind of the nose area, and he's got kind of a line there that we couldn't really see until the paint was in place. But as far as this goes, when it comes to experimentation, I'm really happy. This isn't really a character that I care much about at all. You know, I don't have any real affinity for the question, but it was certainly fun to go through and create this guy, and he's going to look good on the shelf. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, tell your friends if you're into this sort of stuff. And I hope you enjoyed the no music of this one. Tell me whether you guys liked it or not, or if you want me to go back to the way that it was. This was just an experiment too, just to see, you know, because a lot of people talked about how relaxing these videos can be, and sometimes without music they can be more relaxing. So just let me know whether you guys liked it or not in the comments below. And if you guys, you know, if I get an overwhelming response, I'll do them without music from now on, and it'll just be that. So let me know, and I will see you guys next week.